Pacific Standard Time is a member-supported podcast from the San Francisco Standard.
Join today at sfstandard.com/member.
Hey guys, it's me, Emily Dreyfus, one of the hosts of Pacific Standard Time, here to invite you to a party. On Tuesday, January 27th at 7:30 p.m. at Manny's in the Mission, we're having our launch party and live show, and we would love to see you there. We're going to talk to reporters from the SF Standard. We will also have some very special guests. It's going to be fun, and we want to hang out with you there. So please get your tickets now at sfstandard.com/PSTlive.
So our producer just sent us the 2019 version of the U.S. citizenship test. Emily, do you want to try to answer some of these?
Yeah, I mean, I will go ahead and try, and my family will be so ashamed of me if I do badly. My dad is like totally a crusader about U.S. civics education, so this will be proving him right now if I get them wrong. Do you want to read the questions? And
Sure. Yeah. Which of these is something Benjamin Franklin is known for? He was the first person to sign the Constitution. He discovered electricity. He was the nation's first postmaster general. He was the nation's second president.
Okay, definitely electricity. I don't know if he was the first person to sign the Constitution. John Hancock? I don't know. I'll say those two.
Okay, he discovered electricity.
He was the nation's first postmaster general. Okay, what? He doesn't get credit for discovering electricity with the whole...
I don't think he discovered electricity.
Okay, but he did put a kite in the sky, sure. And he harnessing. Okay.
So the reason we're testing your citizenship knowledge today is because I want to tell you about a different kind of story I've been reporting.
Not just because you wanted to embarrass me.
I mean, a little bit of that. But
okay, let's hear it.
So, as the immigration reporter for the San Francisco Standard, a lot of the stories I've written recently have been about undocumented people and how the Trump administration is using fear and force to deport as many of them as possible. Today on the show, the story of citizenship. Who are the people who have actually been here legally on another legal status for years, sometimes even decades, and are for whatever reason right now trying to become citizens, and the new dangers they face in that quest.
Can you give an example of a civic or history question that they're going to ask?
Who was the first president? George Washington. What's your capital state? Sacramento.
Nice.
So the story starts with a woman named Abigail Larios. Gabby, our producer, met her one morning as she was standing in front of USCIS about to take what might be the most important test of her life.
Can you say where we are right now?
At 444 Washington Immigration Citizenship Building. We are waiting for me to take a test for the citizenship.
And how are you feeling right now?
With confidence.
She'd been studying for almost a year, so she was excited to be taking this test finally.
How many Supreme Court justices are there? 9.
Do you know who the chief one is? Do you have to know that?
John Roberts.
Okay.
But this moment, one in which someone might in the past have felt just pure pride or excitement, there is this other kind of shadow hanging over the whole experience. Right now, a lot of people are taking this test, not necessarily because they're excited to become U.S. citizens, but because they're afraid of the Trump administration and they're afraid of ICE.
You were thinking about this huge question of what it means to become an American citizen right now. And where do you go to try to find people who are asking themselves that question?
You go to citizenship class, which is where people go to study to take the U.S. citizenship test.
If the president signs the bill, what does that mean? Right? It's ley, right? It's law. If the president signs the bill, it's law.
So I went to a community center in the Mission District of San Francisco and found a class full of aspiring U.S. citizens.
What does the judicial branch do?
In this class, you walk in, it's pretty visually striking. It's big enough to hold about 30 to 40 students packed in pretty tightly.
What is the highest court in the United States?
There are U.S. flags on the wall. There are pictures of U.S. government officials like Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. There's the U.S. Constitution on the wall. And on the whiteboard on any given day, you'll see diagrams of what the class is studying, whether it be the way the Constitution works, whether it be the way a bill becomes a law. Very basic information you'll have to know to take your U.S. citizenship test.
It always strikes me when hearing about the U.S. citizenship test that these are pieces of information that many native-born U.S. citizens might not actually know. These classes aren't necessarily even taught in school anymore, but these people are learning so much about how our country works. So tell us, who are the people in this class?
So the people in this particular classrooms are all Latin American people, mostly women, and they're all people who have been in the country for years, some of them for decades, all permanent residents. And teaching the class is Jake Simons.
The Associate Director and Naturalization Program Manager at Centro Latino de San Francisco.
How long have you been doing this job?
It will be 5 years, November 1st.
So how does he prepare students to take the test? What is he teaching them?
So the test is composed of dozens of questions, and most of what he's doing is training his students to answer these questions.
All right, so this one is question number 57. When? ¿Qué significa when? Cuando, right? So cuando, when must all men, right, hombres, register for the selective service?
All the questions are pretty straightforward, so a lot of it is memorization via rote practice. But the thing is, this class is also an English class because most of the folks in this room don't speak English very well. And so he's not only teaching them how to answer questions, he's also kind of teaching them rudimentary English.
Between 18 and 26, right? Entre 18 y 26. O puedes decir 18, right? At 18. Okay?
And what reason did people give for seeking citizenship at this stage in their lives?
So previously, being a permanent resident was a pretty safe, kind of boring status, right? Like you could be in the country indefinitely.
Right.
ICE was never going to come knock on your door and tell you to leave the country or deport you, or that was very, very unlikely to happen. Enter Donald Trump, and suddenly ICE is coming after permanent residents who have crimes on the record, such as DUI, or even something as minor as they filled out paperwork incorrectly 10 years ago when they were applying to be permanent residents. And so being a permanent resident is no longer a safe status. And so many of the people I spoke to, one of the reasons that they're applying to be citizens now is because they're afraid. They feel that becoming citizens is a safer status and will prohibit the government from coming after them and deporting them.
If some of the people in the class this year are citing fear as their reason for finally trying to become U.S. citizens, what reason did Jake say people used to come to the class for previously?
So Jake told me and our producer Gabby that a big reason people want to become citizens is because they want to vote. You become a member of a community, you see that voters have a hand in shaping local laws that affect your life. And so they want to be able to vote to be part of the society that they're living in.
One of the activities that I've done in my class is I ask them to think of changes that they want to see in their community and phrase it as a law. So they can understand this is something that I want to change. And then I divide each of them up and they vote on it and have a discussion about, oh, this law should be in effect, this law should not. Oh, what can we change about it?
What are some of the things that they do say they want to change?
A lot of it has to do with the houseless population, with drug abuse, with, that sort of thing, just because it's very prominent right now. But it could also be like, let's increase the speed limit to the highway or whatever.
I have two family members who are longtime green card holders, and my mom is constantly nagging them to become U.S. citizens because she wants them to vote. And actually, they have had zero interest in voting in local elections. But even this year, they are also worried for this exact same reason, that maybe their long-term status isn't safe anymore. Is there more urgency right now for people who are applying to become U.S. citizens? And is that the experience of the people in this class?
Yeah, certainly there is.
Even though that they're here legally, have their permanent residency, there shouldn't be anything that they feel scared about. But the administration has kind of imposed this fear about anything can happen, like regardless if you're a permanent resident, regardless if you're a citizen.
Because not only is there this added danger of ICE targeting some permanent residents, depending on, whether or not they have, criminal infractions in their history, but because so many people are applying to be citizens right now, the wait to get an appointment to take your citizenship test at USCIS has gotten really long. Oh. So it can take months and months and months before you could take your citizenship test. And in that whole time that you're waiting, you're vulnerable.
The Trump administration also recently announced changes to the test itself, right? What are those changes, and what do they mean for the people in Jake's class?
So the test is longer now. Previously, you might get asked 10 questions and you had to get at least 6 right. And there was a pool of 100 questions that you might get asked. Now, under this updated Trump policy, you might get asked 20 questions and you have to get at least 12 right. And the pool of questions has gotten bigger. There are 128 questions now that you might get asked and should memorize. And so now Jake has to teach more questions, and their students have to worry about getting more right. On top of that, the wording has changed in a lot of these questions in ways that some people say make the question more open-ended, a little more ambiguous, essentially more difficult.
There's one question about the 14th Amendment with like a lot of legal speak and stuff like that, within the jurisdiction of thereof, and the way that they word it is very complicated, and I think the idea is to trip them up. And they also still haven't posted any multilingual resources on the test. It's only in English currently on their website, when previously the 100 questions have been translated to many languages. And they also haven't even posted any educational materials to study for the new test. They're kind of just leaving us out to dry.
When you got the email that they're changing this test and you have a month to basically figure it out, what was going through your head?
I can't believe they're doing this, to be honest. I was like, what's wrong with the 100 questions? I mean, they still have to learn 100 questions. A lot of them, after class or before class, go into my office, close the door, and kind of sometimes break down a little bit about like their nerves, their fear about like, I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I'm going to pass. I don't know anything. And I'm like, take a deep breath. You've been coming to class. I've seen you improve. You're going to do great. I'm here to help you practice the interview. The more you practice, the more confident you'll become. But definitely, the administration has amplified the nerves, amplified the fear.
How many branches of government are there?
3.
I think you got this.
Yeah.
Do you have to name them?
Yeah, executive, legislative.
After the break, Abigail takes her citizenship test.
Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it isn't still here. It is smog. I'm Pat Morrison, and I've been breathing LA smog for, a long time. Join me to find out how this airborne garbage finally changed and how it changed us, with scientists, innovators, comedians, politicians, and a gal who drove around LA with her convertible top down and her gas mask on. Smoglandia will be available soon everywhere you listen to podcasts.
Transgender kids have been in the headlines a lot recently, but they rarely get to tell their own stories. Join us on the California Report magazine for a limited series called Love You for You. We'll listen to trans and non-binary kids talk with the adults in their lives about what it means to thrive with love and support.
Thanks for letting me be who I am. Thank you for letting me be your parent and for letting me love you.
From KQED, find the California Report magazine wherever you get your podcasts.
Design is everywhere in our lives, perhaps most importantly in the places where we've just stopped noticing. 99% Invisible is a weekly podcast that explores the power of design and architecture. Host Roman Mars asks questions like, why do we use the bleep sound to cover up inappropriate words on radio and TV? And what's with mall culture, and how did it become such a ubiquitous part of American life? And why are houseplants having a moment right now? 99% Invisible will answer all that and more every Tuesday. Follow and listen to 99% Invisible wherever you get your podcasts.
Have your appointment letters ready and your ID.
Which part are you most nervous for?
When they ask about my record.
Why are you nervous about that?
Because when I was young, I was getting in trouble a little bit with the law. When they say, have you ever get arrested? So I do have arrest history.
And did you practice with Jake at the citizenship class what to say?
Yes. I do have arrest record, and then I will give him my paperwork. In case
I met Abigail Larios at Jake's class, and our producer Gabby and I wanted to follow her because her story reflects the high stakes that a lot of people who are applying for their citizenship right now are facing under the Trump administration.
So, what's Abigail's story?
So Abigail came here as a kid. She was brought to the United States by her family, and she went to high school in the United States. She had a pretty rough childhood, and so she started drinking at a pretty young age.
A los 12 años. Oh, wow.
And her addiction to alcohol kind of defined a lot of her early adulthood. She was in and out of jail on public intoxication charges.
Entonces tuve problemas con el tomar. Y me metió, iba a la cárcel.
And eventually she was charged with domestic violence and ended up going to jail for a couple of years. She got out, kept drinking, but then eventually found her way into a really good rehab program here in San Francisco. She got sober a couple years ago, and since then she's been living in supportive residential housing for people who are recovering from alcohol addiction. Before this administration, all of that probably wouldn't have been an issue for someone applying to be a citizen. It would have been like, you committed your crime, you did your time, now you can apply to be a citizen.
Okay. But it's like you're allowed to be a citizen even if you've had a past.
Exactly, even if you've maybe done some things that put blemishes on your records.
Sure.
But the Trump administration has been not only denying citizenship to people with criminal records, but has been detaining them. And so when Abigail's standing in line about to take her citizenship test, this all is kind of hanging over her.
So you went with Abigail to take the test. Were you able to go into the waiting room with her and support her, or how did that work?
No, they wouldn't let us in. So we ended up standing outside on the sidewalk for hours waiting to see what was going to happen.
So what just happened?
So right now, Abigail is going in there. She's got an appointment at 7:15 to take her citizenship exam, which she's been studying for a year. She's pretty confident that she's going to pass today. She thinks it's automatic. I'm worried for her because she has a criminal record, and ICE has been detaining people who've been coming to their citizenship exams. So kind of like poking my head over the wall right now to see. And while we're standing there, we start seeing other people who had taken their tests come outside, and they have these little U.S. flags, and they have these big smiles on their faces, and they're greeted by their family members who give them big hugs, and it's really emotional. But we don't see Abigail. In fact, we saw people who had gone in after her come out before her. So we start to worry. Like, has ICE picked her up and we don't even know it? But then, after hours, we finally see, like, deep inside the building, someone start to emerge, and it's Abigail.
Sí. Felicitaciones.
And so there's a sense of relief. Like, oh, she didn't get detained.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Gracias.
Can we see the flag?
No, they haven't given it to me. They gonna.
We realized that, unlike everyone else who's come out, she's not holding a little U.S. flag.
They have a little concern about the rest.
Yeah.
So did she not pass the test?
She did pass the test. But the thing is, she wasn't granted her citizenship on the spot like everyone else who had come out with their little flags had been, because they wanted to look a little more deeply into her personal history, into that criminal record.
Oh, my goodness.
So, but I explained as much as my ability, and they say that it was okay, but they have to review it.
Cool.
But I passed the test.
Congrats.
Yes.
And so this kind of makes sense with what the Trump administration has said about the citizenship test. They have publicly said that they're going to make these character assessments a larger part of determining whether or not they're going to allow someone to become a U.S. citizen. And so they told Abigail, we want to look into some of these arrests more before we grant you your citizenship.
So she passes, she comes out. How is she feeling at this moment?
She's really excited. I mean, she's been studying for this test for a year, so she's really excited that she just passed it. And we wanted to be excited with her. But at the same time, we're also worried because she hasn't been given her citizenship yet. And there have been other cases where other people have passed their test and been detained by ICE afterwards. So she still could be in danger. If anything, going in for that citizenship test might have put her on ICE's radar. How are you feeling right now?
I feel amazing. I feel excited that I became a citizen.
Yeah. I mean, what does that mean to you to be a good citizen?
Obey the laws of the United States. Not get in trouble no more.
So the woman said that you're a citizen, but they just need to wait to get more paperwork before you take the oath of allegiance?
Yes. They just need to see the what kind of arrests were they.
Okay.
But they already been sealed and dismissed, so I have the full conviction that it's going to work out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like it worked out.
Yeah, it seems like it.
Yeah.
Abigail took her citizenship test in early October of 2025, and she was told that in a couple of weeks they'd let her know if she was a citizen. But that was right at the beginning of the government shutdown. When the shutdown ended, Abigail expected to get the news she'd been waiting for. But as of this taping, she still hasn't heard anything. She texted me saying that maybe this has something to do with the Trump administration trying to denaturalize some foreign-born citizens, but really, she has no idea.
Happy New Year, Abigail. How are you doing?
Happy New Year. Yes, I'm doing fine. I'm very happy for me to be taking that test and passed it.
I mean, have you heard from USCIS?
No, I haven't heard from them. Hopefully they give me a resolution soon.
So you haven't heard from them since you passed that day? You haven't heard anything from them?
No, nothing. But I think eventually everything will be okay.
Like a lot of what this administration does in immigration, this is a black box. So all she can do right now is wait and hope for the best.
Hearing you put it like that, it sounds like, frankly, bleak. But there's so many people out there who want to become a citizen still. And what does that tell you about the people who are still really optimistic to join this country?
I just saw a pretty cool thing today when I went to citizenship class, which was Jake had the students pretend that they were all senators and break down into groups of 5 and come up with new laws that they wanted passed in San Francisco.
So what is your law? What is the law that you want to have voted?
And they all came up with different laws, from giving free ridership on Muni to the elderly to having bigger budgets for police so that they could have safer streets. And then Jake asked everyone to vote on whether or not they thought that these laws were good ideas.
So todos cierran los ojos. Everyone close your eyes para que no ven lo que los otros están votando. So close your eyes. Okay, so raise your hand if you want to say yes to this law.
And when they all voted almost unanimously to give elderly people free rides on Muni, and Jake, as the president of this class, signed their new bill into law, they all cheered.
I will sign! Yay!
As if they'd actually just passed this law that they all thought was important. And it's just like this little moment that's like, this is the aspiration for like what the United States is at its best. And all these people are like so deeply invested in it that even in a little classroom simulation, you could tell that they were excited about the possibility of having this power to affect their society like that.
If we want these to happen in real life, what is the first...
I feel empowered in that I can exercise, or at least try to exercise my freedoms, in terms of freedom of speech, freedom to gather for reunion, to protest, to be involved in change and, not necessarily worrying about my immigration status, We as citizens now have to, kind of protect the people that are here, regardless of their citizens, permanent residents, or whatever, whether we were born here or have been naturalized, to kind of use those rights, those freedoms to help others. And I think that's very prevalent today about citizens exercising those rights to help those that can't.
Pacific Standard Time is a production of the San Francisco Standard. This episode was reported and produced by Jesse Alejandro Cottrell and Gabrielle Burbet and edited by Matt Collette. The rest of our team is Eddie Sun, Michelle Lands, and Sophie Behrman. Music by Blue Dot Sessions and Bear Attack. I'm your host, Emily Dreyfus, along with Jesse. The best way to support the podcast is to become an SF Standard member at sfstandard.com/member. See you next week.